The Cape Verde Islands are far out in the Atlantic Ocean. It's been several days since the fishermen here have been able to set out to sea. However, these young men from the village of San Pedro aren't stupid. When the swell is too heavy to launch their boats in the early morning, they still go fishing for tourists. Florentino has come up with a new role for himself and his friends as a tour operator.
Somos todos grupo que começou a alimentar as tartarugas, a levar as pessoas para mirar as tartarugas. É muito guapo. Muitas pessoas que vêm aqui e dizem, oh my God, much people like this.
However, this is not the season for sea turtles. At this time of year, they are normally thousands of kilometers away from here. This morning, the young men have managed to persuade a tourist, Denilson, a Frenchman of Cape Verdean origin, to come on an adventure with them. He's a bit worried. He doesn't have a life jacket, and the waves are scary.
J'appréhende. Non, j'ai pas vraiment peur. Si je dois partir, je partirai. J'ai envie de dire. Non, j'ai pas vraiment peur. Je fais confiance, On n'a pas choisi le meilleur jour aussi. Hein. Como você faz para chamar a tartaruga?
Som do motor que chega ao pé do barco.
Ah, yeah. Ok.
Isto chega perto do barco. Isto também que isto vai comer.
Ok.
Eles comem, tartarugas comem algas. Mas desde pequeno damos peixe para comer.
Florentino and his friends will stop at nothing to earn a little money. They have changed the turtles' migration cycle and even their diet. Gorging on fish, they have put on weight.
C'est impressionnant. Elles sont énormes.
The fishermen have had to tame the turtles because they have no other choice. Fish have become scarce in these waters. Since 2007, under an agreement with the Cape Verdean government, Europe has allowed its industrial trawlers to fish in the waters around the islands. Their huge vessels have emptied the ocean.
Não,
É
não tem.
pesca, mas a pesca está fraca.
Ok.
A pesca está fraca.
Ok.
Às vezes dependemos disso, ver as tartarugas.
Yeah.
Ver as tartarugas, senão, gente, ficamos mesmo com os lábios secos.
Denilson paid 20 euros to see the turtles. With this money, Florentino will be able to feed his family all week. Like Florentino, many Cape Verdeans are prepared to do whatever it takes to make a living, whatever the consequences for the environment. Cape Verde lies 500 kilometers off the coast of Africa, 10 islands in the middle of the Atlantic. A former Portuguese colony, independent since 1975. When we talk about Cape Verde, everyone thinks of mountains, hiking, beaches, and coconut palms. And yet, there is no country anywhere in the world less suited to its name. Cape Verde is no longer green. The islands are on the front line of global warming.
O mais difícil aqui é a chuva. E a água que não faz, a água que não tem.
While water is scarce on some islands, elsewhere, it flows in abundance.
Do you know that in this country there is a lot of water?
No, I didn't.
Tourism is the country's main source of wealth, accounting for 25% of GDP. Every year, 4 international airports bring in 900,000 visitors, most of whom stay in the big hotels.
They can have food how many times they want. They can have drinks how many times they want.
But mass tourism creates dangers for the environment.
Sometimes there is more than 100 tourists here, so probably they can change their behavior.
Business is thriving, but it doesn't benefit Cape Verdeans.
The money doesn't arrive here. When you pay there, you stay there.
Faced with the excesses of the big hotels, some people choose to offer authentic tourism off the beaten track.
Bravo. Bienvenue.
Like Alcindo, who lives at the foot of an active volcano. Although the last eruption dates back to barely 2014.
Le volcan, c'est qu'on sent sa présence partout.
In Cape Verde, everything can be monetized, even the sand on the beaches. This is the incredible story of the women of Ribeira da Barca, who risk their lives to fetch sand from the sea so they can sell it to feed their children. But who knew that these islands have also become the world's rubbish dump, where plastics from every continent choke the sea turtles?
They are very fragile. It's hard because they can die.
This is the other face of Cape Verde, the one the tourist guides never show you. The Polau Dam was one of Cape Verde's proudest achievements. It was originally built to irrigate an entire valley in the south of Santiago. But today, the dam is dry. Because there has been hardly any rain in Cape Verde for the past 7 years. Close by, in a Wild West landscape, is the little village of Montenegro, a cluster of houses at the foot of a mountain. Every day, in the late afternoon, the same ritual takes place. Families gather around the village's only fountain. They are awaiting the arrival of their savior, or rather, Martha, the guardian of the fountain. She's holding a bunch of keys and this little padlock.
Não pode morrer de graça. Já está fechado a torneira lá para perder tcholi. Se está pouco, não está por no limite, mas se está em quantia, não terá o que ele não quiser.
Water is pumped from the water table, the level of which varies according to the season. When water is plentiful, each family is entitled to 3 containers of 25 liters per day. But at the moment, there's a shortage. 1 per family, no more. 8 escudos for 25 liters is less than €1 cent. Water isn't expensive, but there's a problem.
É longe, sim. Se o cadeirinha de pagar caro, eu fico lá.
The next day, just as predicted, the pump broke down again, for the 3rd time since the beginning of the year. In his farmhouse above the village, Promao Gonzalez keeps an anxious eye on the activity around the fountain.
Nada te falta. Só falta, né? Olha lá. Só bidão lá que tem água. Falta água demais.
Like all the families in the village, the Gonsalves have never had running water. In Inez's, the mother's, small stone kitchen, there's no tap, just a jug, like in the olden days.
Água está cheio. Está cheio de água. Água para não estar lavando, não está cuxa, está lava prato, lava panela.
With the few liters of water she has left, Inez barely has enough to cook for a day or two. While people are finding it difficult to live without water, it's worse for livestock. Promao needs 80 liters of water and 10 kilograms of straw a day for his 2 donkeys and 8 goats.
Esse ano, graças a Deus, tem. Ai. Antes que tinha, mar morria bacana, tinha na fome de 2019, 18, 20, tudo sofre. Tinha vaca, mano, e vaca acaba para morrer que tinha palha. Certo sei.
Grass no longer grows in Cape Verde due to lack of rain.
País que está vivendo meio de mar, nunca pode ter falta de água, sim. Tem que ter outra alternativa de resolver o problema da água. Não se brigar água, comida e água.
In the countryside, 40% of families have no running water. In the city, residents suffer from dilapidated infrastructure and frequent cuts in supply. This is Praia, capital of Cape Verde, with 190,000 inhabitants, half the country's population. Here, as elsewhere, the severe drought has created a new profession, that of water vendor, like Domingos.
Puxa bala aqui, tem de tudo, não?
Assim.
Today, he's delivering 1,000 liters to this construction site.
Vender 700 escudos, uma tonelada.
C'est cher ou c'est pas cher?
É preço normal.
Vous faites combien de marge?
Às vezes outras pessoas apoiam 800. Uma tonelada para deslocar 1000 escudos. Quanto mais pouco, mais caro.
The lack of water has created a very lucrative business. And it's not only the vendors who benefit. On the other side of town, there's an oasis in the middle of the capital. It's been nicknamed Tahiti for its palm and banana trees. This is where Domingos comes for supplies several times a day.
Não, sim, poço, ali é poço.
Tahiti has become a kind of service station for water. Praia's water vendors all know about it. As soon as he's finished filling his tank, Domingos goes to pay for the refueling. Jason keeps the accounts.
Listen, aquele que nos faz antes, aquele antes era 6.200. Tem dia que tem varia de preço, depende do movimento de carro. Para cada carro, está vai quadrado tonelada. Mas show que tem que era 12.200.
120 euros in one day. It's almost half the average monthly wage in Cape Verde. But what's even more astonishing is that this well doesn't belong to the state, nor to the Praia municipality, but to a woman. Georgette is a civil servant and a mother. Georgette inherited this house and its well from her father.
L'eau du puits, elle appartient à qui? Elle appartient à vous? Ou c'est l'eau de la nappe phréatique?
Aquilo nunca sabe, se calhar explica, porque ele é dentro de nossa propriedade, que é comprado, que se registraram na Câmara e tudo mais, nunca ninguém levanta aquela questão ali.
Você esgota ganha canto, mais ou menos?
Panfla canto.
Mi? Mais ou menos. Assim por alto, assim por alto.
Não, se calhar aquele parte lá que... Sim.
One thing's for sure, for Georgette, the water from the well represents a comfortable supplement to her salary, enabling her to afford some servants to run her house. With its lush garden, it's one of the most beautiful in the capital. The water problem in Cape Verde is nothing new. The country sought a solution to alleviate the water shortage and found it in the sea, Cape Verde's only inexhaustible resource. The government has built desalination plants on every island. Praia is the largest. Costing 21 million euros, it supplies the capital with 20,000 meters cubed of water every day. Water pumped from 50 meters below sea level. Antao Cruz is the director of the Electra Group, a state-owned company that manages 8 desalination plants in Cape Verde.
Quantas membranas no total?
A desalination plant looks a bit like this. A sort of giant still. Filter after filter to remove the sand, then the salt. After treatment, the plant discharges brine into the sea.
Elle est beaucoup plus salée que la mer, celle-là.
Muito mais.
Combien de plus?
Valores não.
4 fois plus salée?
Em alguns locais é utilizada para fins terapêuticos.
Since fish don't do thalassotherapy, they've deserted the coastal waters. All the environmental studies on desalination plants show that brine discharges are harmful to marine life, rocks, coral. But that's not the only problem.
Il fonctionne comment? Avec quelle énergie cette entreprise?
A planta com energia elétrica.
Énergie électrique. Qui vient d'où?
Que vient da subestação, ele é transformador.
In fact, the power plant that supplies the desalination plant runs on diesel. 52,000 liters a day, releasing thousands of tons of CO2 into the atmosphere. Because of the price of fuel, desalination plants produce the most expensive water in Cape Verde, costing between 3 and 6 euros per 1,000 liters. Only the wealthiest in Cape Verde can afford it. We're heading for Sal, Cape Verde's most famous island. Over 500,000 holidaymakers flock to these pristine beaches every year. This small island, 30 kilometers long and 12 kilometers wide, gets 60% of Cape Verde's tourists. At first glance, they're the only people in the country not suffering from drought. In the south of the island, around 20 establishments have been built right in the middle of the beach. The names are Melia, Hilton, Oasis, and Riu, one of the world's largest hotel groups. Riu has 6 establishments on Cape Verde and was the only one to agree to open its doors to us on condition that we interviewed only the manager.
First time in Cape Verde?
Yeah, first time.
Okay. Hope you enjoy and you will come back.
Very much. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Have a nice day.
For the past 20 years, Daniele Rossini, an Italian, has been in charge of 2 of the group's hotels. Over the last 20 years, he's seen the growth and development of what is now his pride and joy.
The coconut trees. We are very jealous of them. We reproduce them, and if you can see, I mean, since 2005 that we started with hotel, the plants are growing very fast, and they created this oasis into the desert.
Given the price of water, Daniela's oasis costs the Riu no less than 12,000 euros every month, not to mention the swimming pools.
Bom dia. Tudo bom? Piscina está limpa, a temperatura está ok? Perfeito? Ok, obrigado.
4 huge pools, each 600 meters cubed with its own poolside bar. Luxury enjoyed by 3,000 tourists a year, mainly Europeans at Daniela's 2 hotels.
De France? Ah, de Normandie?
Oui, Normandie.
Première fois qu'on vient dans un Riu. Et bah ça va. Il y a beaucoup d'anglais, mais bon, ça va.
Oui.
On s'adapte.
Il y a beaucoup de Français aussi.
Pour être bien.
Oui.
Farniente.
The hotel also boasts a large jacuzzi and children's pools. At the Riu, water is one of the largest items in the budget. Yet, like all the hotels in the area, Riu's prices are rock bottom. Depending on the season, a week costs between 700 and 1,500 euros, including travel.
Boa tarde, Calou. Boa tarde. Tá tudo ok? Tudo ok? All the guests here are all inclusive. That means that they can have food how many times they want, they can have drinks how many times they want, and they can absolutely forget money into the hotel.
And the restaurant's customers take full advantage. But how do giants of tourism like Riu manage to offer such low prices? Daniela agreed to reveal the secrets. He has to buy 600 tons of food every month to supply his restaurants. And the secret is that he imports it all, sometimes from very far away.
Most of the things, especially because of the quantity we need, comes from abroad.
For example?
For example, what can I tell you? For example, chicken comes from abroad. All the meat comes from abroad.
The chicken was reared in the U.S., the cows in Latin America.
Fish comes from where?
Sometimes Vietnam, sometimes Brazil, sometimes Portugal, sometimes Spain.
The Riu's central purchasing groups go where the products are cheapest, even if it's on the other side of the planet. The problem is that they buy almost nothing from Cape Verde, and that isn't good for everyone. In Santa Maria, the capital of the island of Sal, the pontoon is the liveliest place in town. Here, most fishermen don't sell to the big hotels, which find local fish far too expensive. But that's not all.
Está saindo? Ok. Tudo hoje? Ok, tá bom. Ok, obrigado. Agora era.
We met Anderson in the middle of the market.
Qual televisão do quê?
Anderson is one of the island's many tour guides. He knows the big hotel system well. He used to work there.
The money doesn't arrive here. When you pay there, you stay there. I worked before for all-inclusive on this island, but I don't want to work anymore. Our salary minimum is very complicated, okay? 10 euros a day. Sometimes the security from your hotel is 7 euros a day, 8 hours, for protect you, okay? So welcome to my island.
The state collects a tax of €2.50 per hotel night. But apart from that, tourism does little for the local economy. Worst of all, it is increasingly a threat to the environment. Apart from the big hotels, there's not much to do in Sal. There is an 18-hole golf course with or without grass. But the main attraction is just on the other side. It's known as Shark Bay.
touché. Vous êtes pas rassuré quand même, hein? Ah, mais Gilles m'a touché.
Every day, dozens of tourists play at being scared by sharks. Well, sort of. Because the sharks in question are no more than 80 centimeters long.
Et on a envie de les toucher quand même, ouais.
In fact, it's a nursery. Female sharks come here to give birth because the water is warmer than elsewhere.
That guy is a lemon shark. There are baby shark. They call lemon shark because the colors, the fin is like yellow.
The locals came up with the idea of turning it into an attraction. They charge tourists €3 to see the babies up close. To attract the baby sharks, guides lure them with fish. And that's precisely the problem. A few meters away from the tourists, Denise, a young Cape Verdean, age 30, is preparing for the day. He's part of an NGO, Biodiversidad, which is seeking to measure the impact of mass tourism on sharks. Denise wants to place a GPS chip under the skin of the little sharks to monitor their movements. He wonders if by feeding the sharks every day, the guides might not be preventing them from heading back out to sea.
Sometimes there is more than 100 tourists here. If you control the tourists' their behavior to not snorkeling with the sharks, if they don't touch the sharks, I think will be less impact. Zero impact, it's impossible. Olha Aritson. Olha. Now. Let's see. Espera, larga devagar.
The data collected by the association will be very useful. The NGO is concerned about the future of the baby sharks. In a few months' time, new charter airlines will be serving the island, and visitor numbers are set to increase by 30%. Tourist pressure is set to intensify on the island of Sal. On the other side of the archipelago lies the island of Fogo, one of the richest but also one of the most dangerous islands in Cape Verde. Because of the still active volcano, Pico de Fogo, or Fire Peak. It's 2,800 meters high. Alcindo is a native of the region, both guide and hotelier. Today, he accompanies two French tourists, Guillaume and Agnès.
Ça sont des maisons typiques de l'île. En fait, surtout de la caldeira, quoi. Qui s'appellent des funko.
Guillaume and Agnès are from Savoie. They are used to mountains. They have treated themselves to this very special trip for their honeymoon.
C'est impressionnant. C'est désertique. C'est un autre monde, quoi. Il faut y vivre, hein, je pense.
Donc voilà, ici c'est vraiment l'entrée de la caldeira.
The caldera, or cauldron in Portuguese, is a moonscape. An immense crater 9 kilometers in circumference, the remains of an ancient volcano that collapsed centuries ago in an earthquake. Right in the middle stands the volcano that Guillaume and Agnès will be tackling tomorrow.
Depuis ici, il nous semble tout petit là, c'est juste un petit rocher à ramper. Mais quand on arrive là, vous allez voir la surprise.
De toute façon, il y a 1000 mètres, hein, c'est ça?
Ah, 1100 mètres, ouais.
Normally, an ascent of 1,100 meters would be easy for Savoyard climbers, but the Pico de Fogo is concealing some secrets.
Là, on va commencer à voir les premières maisons du village. La plupart sont construits sur la lave.
For now, the volcano is dormant, but every now and then it wakes up. The last time was in November 2014. The eruption lasted 7 long weeks. No one was killed, but the lava swallowed most of the houses, including Alcindo's hotel. A guest house he had spent 10 years building. He had only just opened it. The remains of the building can just be seen in the foundations of this house.
Venez voir. Donc il y a 7 trous, mais là, si vous regardez, c'est une salle de bain. On voit le WC là qui a été, comme la lave est arrivée, comme il a cassé le WC là-dedans. On voit les pièces, comment ils étaient remplis jusqu'au plafond, quoi.
After the eruption, as if to ward off fate, Alcindo's brother built his own house on the roof of Alcindo's hotel. 10 years have passed, but memories of the trauma live on.
Pour nous, c'était un gros choc émotionnel. On va tout partir comme ça, d'un moment à l'autre, devant tes yeux, sans que tu puisses rien faire. C'était dur.
Because they had been living in the shadow of the volcano, the residents couldn't believe it would ever harm them. So they came back, one after the other, and rebuilt the road, stone by stone, and their homes. Alcindo has built a new hotel.
Soyez bienvenus à la maison.
This is where Guillaume and Agnès will set down their backpacks.
On est arrivé.
Mieux vaut tard que jamais.
Exactement.
Alcindo's wife, Laetitia, a French woman from the Lot-et-Garonne region, is going to get them settled and give them a word of advice.
Je vous donne juste une dernière explication sur la gestion de l'eau. Vous verrez dans votre douche un seau. Lorsque vous allez attendre que l'eau chaude arrive, laissez couler l'eau froide dans ce seau. Et puis moi, ça me permet de récupérer et de ne pas gaspiller cette eau qui partirait. On gère vraiment ce stock d'eau froide. Parfait.
The two French tourists have an appointment with Alcindo the next day at 5:30 a.m.
C'est un peu dur de se lever tôt, mais après, c'est bien de la récompense, quoi. Ouais.
Guillaume and Agnès will finally understand why, despite the danger, Alcindo persists in living at the foot of the volcano.
Bom dia. Escuta. Eu faço aqui, senão eu... Opa, bom dia. Ok, então, bom dia para nós. Ok. Vai! Bora trabalhar, velho. Como é que você em Marravel? Oi. Je vais vous quand? Là, ils vont dans les champs. Ils vont travailler dans les champs, là. Traditionnellement ici, tout le monde cultive de la vigne, pommier, conacier et grenadier. Et là, c'est des maniocs.
Ok.
Ouais.
Tout est planté un peu comme ça.
Oui, tout ensemble.
Tu fais pas un champ de patates.
Non.
Whereas on the other islands of the archipelago everything is dry, here there's growth, thanks to volcanic ash, insulation that keeps every drop of dew or rain in the earth.
C'est l'export des gens d'ici, c'est planter, c'est d'avoir une patate, manioc, des haricots, la vigne et tout qui permettent les gens d'avoir, pas beaucoup, mais pour vivre, c'est bien, quoi. Nous, on est dépendants de la nature et on sait que si le volcan nous permet, et on pourra toujours vivre ici.
Above 2,000 meters, nothing grows. Guillaume and Agnès are only halfway there.
On est parti.
Ouais.
Savoir si les Savoyards sont meilleurs que les locaux.
Ouais, c'est ça, ouais. Mais écoute, je me fie un petit peu parce que vous n'êtes pas loin des Alpes, donc il y a forcément de l'entraînement. Donc il faut faire attention.
At the same time, a little further down the road, Alcindo's wife Leticia begins her day by taking her son to school. But he's not alone.
Je fais ramassage scolaire. On vient de récupérer les cousines et les cousins. Tant que ça peut monter dans la voiture, tant qu'on peut charger, on met. Voilà. Allez, on lâche les fauves. Devagar. 1, 2, 3. Dá beijo.
Malo, aged 4, is Leticia and Alcindo's son.
C'est une histoire franco-capverdienne. Son père était mon guide. On s'est rencontrés sur l'île de Sant'Anta. On est tombés amoureux. J'aurais mieux fait de me casser une jambe ce jour-là. Non, je plaisante. Non, je suis très heureuse. Hein. On a scellé notre amour avec Malo, qui lui est un vrai petit Cap-Verdien. Hein. Pour lui, la vie dans ce village est extraordinaire.
Like the whole village, the school was rebuilt after the 2014 eruption on the lava flow. To ensure the safety of the population, the state has installed seismic sensors on the mountain. If the volcano awakens, residents will be warned, so everyone should have time to evacuate. At least in theory.
Comme justement ça fait 10 ans maintenant, il ne se passe rien, on aurait tendance à être... Enfin moi j'aurais tendance à être naïve et me dire « c'est bon quoi ». Alors bien sûr, s'il y a une prochaine éruption, à un moment donné, il faudra quand même songer à s'installer dans un endroit un peu plus sécure. Mais pour le moment, on est là.
Ici, on parle plus.
On n'a pas marre. Hein.
Ouais.
Moi la maline là.
Ok, ouais, ça tire sur les jambes là.
After a 4-hour hike, the summit is in sight, 2,800 meters.
Soyez bienvenus.
Ouais, trop cool. Hein?
Bravo.
J'en ai chié. Je sais pas si j'ai le droit de dire ça à la caméra, mais là j'en ai chié. La fin, elle a été dure. Mais c'est trop cool. Ça fait du bien de se faire du mal. Ouais.
Donc ne bougez pas.
Despite the heat, over 30 degrees, Alcindo has managed to get the Savoyards up to the crater, the edge of this volcano that he has made almost his own.
Le volcan, on vit là, on sent sa présence partout. Tu sais, à chaque fois, même dans la nuit, quand tu dors, dans tes sommeils, tu sens qu'il y a sa présence, il y a quelque chose. Tous les ans, on a le droit à 3-4 tremblements de terre par an. Ça te montre bien qu'il est là, qu'il est présent de temps en temps. Il te passe la main sur la tête, juste pour que tu puisses sentir qu'il est là. C'est pas facile. Vivre là au pied de ce volcan, c'est pas facile. C'est vraiment un gros défi. Mais nous, tout ce qu'on a aujourd'hui, tout est grâce au volcan, quoi.
When resources are scarce, Cape Verdeans always find a solution to exploit their land. On the island of Fogo, it's the volcano that sustains them. While on the island next door, Santiago, it's the sea. A beach of black sand to the east of the island. Soldiers patrol here several times a day. The state has called in the army to protect an increasingly scarce resource that is the focus of trafficking in this area. This black sand shining like a diamond. On many of the island's beaches, it has completely disappeared. All that remains are shores strewn with pebbles. The women of Ribeira da Barca are to blame. For years, they've been at the heart of a trade destined for the construction industry. They've been stealing sand from the beaches. There's no work for them here. They collected all the sand that covered the beach long ago. Now, they have to fetch it from the bottom of the sea. Saleta is 32 and has 2 children. She's been doing this all her life.
É colega, não está fazendo necessidades. Não está fazendo necessidade, vamos nunca ter arroz na casa, não está bem para não entrar aquela areia, para não poder comer com o nosso filho.
Está mandando dizer isso demais. E meu, eu da casa não, eu disse. Vai, temos que ter sapato aqui em casa.
Os sapatos, e para quê?
Para nós tudo, para traria.
Para quê? Para nunca maltrata aqui.
Dinheiro cada dia eu compro arroz, eu pego caraca. Só a que pele quente. Sapato é bem, olha.
The sand thieves operate at low tide. The swell is so strong that the men have to help them. They are the ones who fetch the sand from the bottom of the water. The women carry no less than 50 kilograms of sand on their heads on each trip. Accidents are not uncommon.
Já está acostumado. Já está acostumado a trabalhar, por isso. De primeiro vez tinha pai apanhando na rua e era pancada. Peligroso. Quantos quilos na cabeça? Pá, aquele pá lá que... Pá que apanhando na roça e a alma era pancada. Não, aquele que está pá é pescoço. Que apanhando na roça. Dá pancada. Eu escuto ele, dá pancada.
Every time she enters the water, Saleta risks her life because she can't swim. Like most of the sand thieves.
É perigo, tá mata próprio. Outro tá com o pé quebrado. É perigo, mar é perigo. Já não costuma folga só. Já não folga, outro já vai com o mão quebrado, outro pé quebrado. Tudo já vai.
The sand is stored on the beach, waiting for the truck to arrive. It normally comes every week, but the women haven't seen it for 15 days. They're waiting impatiently. In 2 hours, the women load no less than 20 tons of sand at arm's length, earning a mere 230 euros, and 11 of them have to share the money.
Que é o esforço pouco dinheiro. Só canseira, dor na coluna, não está tudo maltratado.
For the last fortnight's work, Saleta has only been paid 20 euros. The hard work of the women of Ribeira da Barca supplies the construction industry throughout the region. The sand truck delivers to a company that is well established here. In fact, it's the biggest in town. Thanks to this contraband sand, it makes 5,000 concrete blocks every week, the cheapest in the area. In the courtyard, customers are in a hurry to buy.
A senhora também compra cozer ali?
Bloco.
Para cozer.
Tem construção de casa própria, habitação.
Ok.
Habitação.
Vous savez que les femmes qui font ça, c'est des femmes qui vont chercher le sable dans la mer?
É triste tipo onde as mulheres com as banheiras na cabeça, de sair de dentro do mar, muito sobrecarregado mesmo. Mais tarde também faz o problema de saúde, mas a nossa está comprando porque não tem que ter outra solução.
Thanks to the work of the sand thieves, the company achieves record sales of 10,000 euros every month. That's 40 times the average wage in Cape Verde. In Ribeira da Barca, Salete, the sand thief, has no idea how happy her work makes the builders. We meet her again at the end of the day. Eva Nilsson, 14, and Vanya, his little sister, 4 years old.
Esquece. O que o menino comer?
Não.
Vai. Para uma de boa cantar o comer.
In the tiny house she shares with her children, Salete still manages to feed them every day. But she doesn't know if she'll have enough money to send her son to school.
Ele próprio, inclusive, o Tânia está à escola na Somara, todo mês é 3 contos de carga para não pagar. Se nunca tem aquele 3 contos, é que estava à escola. E por isso vir ali é difícil. Qu'est-ce que vous voudriez faire plus tard, si vous pouviez? A minha vontade é para emigrar, para ter um bom trabalho, para pôr meus filhos para frente. Mas nunca tive aquela oportunidade ainda.
Some of the inhabitants of the village of Ribeira da Barca have already left to work abroad. They've joined the large community of those who have had to leave their homeland to make a living. 700,000 Cape Verdeans have gone abroad to work. They now outnumber those remaining in the country. Cape Verde, a group of islands at the crossroads of the world, or rather, of currents. One of the 10 islands is completely uncharted. A desert island where nobody lives, except sea turtles, who often die there. This nature reserve, that should be preserved as a sanctuary, has become the world's rubbish dump. The Atlantic Ocean currents are to blame, bringing waste from Africa, America, and Europe to the shores of Cape Verde. At the end of June, hundreds of sea turtles come to the island to lay their eggs, landing on beaches littered with plastic. These images were shot by an environmental association dedicated to saving sea turtles.
Acho que esse litro também sai rápido.
The association is called Biosfera. Every year since 2015, Biosfera has organized a cleanup of the northern beach of Santa Lucia Island just before the turtles' egg-laying season.
Já está, Albert.
It brings hundreds of liters of water, tons of food and equipment to set up a base camp. For 5 days, the camp will host around 10 volunteers. Leila is coordinator of the operation.
Bem, pessoal, boa tarde. Nós, o ano passado, conseguimos limpar 3 km de praia, o que não é muito, mas foi mais do que no ano anterior. E o objetivo para este ano é nós conseguirmos avançar mais um bocadinho.
The night is short. By 5 a.m., all hands are on deck.
Toda a gente tem luvas? Sim? Ok. Cada um pega numa coisa e vamos.
Para levar eles. Queres ir mais para lá ou vamos já para... ou levas para a banda lá?
Para a banda lá tem mais lixo. This is medicine from an Asian country, I believe. We find a lot of medicines here. We don't know why, and many times still full without being used. It's very strange, actually. This one comes from France. Codeine.
A tube of unexpired efferalgan. Detergents from South Korea and Morocco.
So it's very far away. And it comes from Morocco. This is a bottle of water.
Saudi Arabia.
On this beach, you'll find everything, including this strange object that nobody has managed to remove in 6 years. A length of underwater telecommunications cable weighing several tons.
Vai ser impossível tirar daí. Não sei como é que estas coisas vêm aqui parar.
There are also the large nets left behind by industrial fishing boats, which have ended up embedded in the pebbles.
Oh, meninos, eu acho que isso é empreendimento impossível. This is very dangerous, especially for the small turtles, because they can get trapped when they're coming out of the nests.
Ronaldo is 27 years old. This is the second year he's come to clean up the beaches of Santa Lucia, and he's still revolted by what he finds.
Eu penso que isto é uma catástrofe. Porque se isto está a parar aqui, agora imagina o que está lá no fundo do oceano. É o dobro, é o triplo, é muita coisa. Eu fico mesmo triste.
Every year, the association collects around 60 tons of plastic and fishing nets. As they don't have the means to dispose of them or treat them, they simply store them in these crates until a solution is found.
Já está bem cheio também.
E este foi construído só o ano passado.
Imagina, mano.
At the end of the shore, there's a part of the beach where there's a lot more rubbish. Lacking money and manpower, the association isn't able to clean it up.
It's very heartbreaking and overwhelming to see this and to know that even if you try your best every day, you cannot fix this problem. And even if you bring the volunteers and if you take this waste, next year it will be the same. So even if we stop now, we would still face this problem for the next 50 years.
Even if they're discouraged, Leila and her companions know that their action is not totally useless. Thanks in part to their efforts, the sea turtle population has increased in recent years. And Cape Verde is now the country with the largest population of sea turtles in the world.